The Independent Electoral Commission of South Africa has been hard at work after the country's president, Cyril Ramaphosa, announced that the 2024 general elections will be held on the 29th of May. On a tight timetable, the Commission still has quite a bit to do before the polls. To give us a sense of readiness and to talk about some of the other issues being dealt with, I caught up with Deputy Chief Electoral Officer at the IEC, Mosery Mawethu. Mr. Mawethu, thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Good morning to you and thank you for the opportunity to be with you.
It is an exceptionally busy time for the IEC, one understands that. A few things have happened though in the past days. Let's begin with the issue of the leaking of party lists. This must be a concern for you as a commission.
Oh, yes, Peter, it is a concern. Indeed, we regret what has happened. At least we are able to now not call it a leak because a leak to us meant we've not maintained something or a person with ill intent to damage the institution did this, or alternatively, somebody who gained access, who's not supposed to gain access, did so. And we've been able to narrow down that there was no unauthorized access to any of our networks. Secondly, we were able to narrow down to the person who actually downloaded this file, and we are able to see what was downloaded. And clearly, it is more than the two parties that we've seen in the social media and other digital media platforms. It's probably even more parties that we still have to receive a full report on that. So in terms of the corrective and intervention work that we've done, we are fairly confident of the environment within the institution. But what also settles us a bit is that even within a short period of time on Friday when this story broke, we were able to identify the document to be a source from within the institution, and we acknowledged as such. So we've really tried to play a very open and transparent process. What we have been cautious about is to what extent we overexpose the individual. We've got to still deal with the individual in terms of the labor relations and our disciplinary process. And therefore, we are guarded on some details that we would ordinarily be wanting to share on this matter.
I suppose for most people, the issue then is security and the integrity of the elections. Will it be affected with things like this, or are you confident that there will be no more breaches or unauthorized downloading of sensitive material?
The common thread from all affected, this being the MK Party, the ANC, the information regulator, ourselves, is first that, and probably the government of the country, is the fact that there was no breach into accessing this database. It was indeed our official. And the second issue is that we are indicating that the official did this unauthorized. And thirdly, the kind of data that was shared was outside of the framework of law. Obviously, we all know these days that I can share your personal information without proper authorizations or go ahead. And to this extent, it's information about the party and ourselves. They expect us to share it at a particular time. Secondly, this information contained full ID numbers of persons. Even if we claimed they were public representatives or intended to be, but you do not share their particulars in the manner it was done. So it's clearly an illegal sharing of this information. And then lastly, it was not the good timing in terms of the election timetable to do this sharing. So all of these put together as a package are matters of concern. Obviously, the affected political parties, they've responded in a very responsible manner into what has happened. They have acknowledged, and they certainly agree with us to an extent that it is an individual who's acted like this. It's not necessarily the institution. Therefore, the integrity and the credibility of the institution should not be dented to the extent that we would worry about a credible election. Yes, the fact that it is our official, we are affected, but it should not get to the extent that we doubt the bona fides of the institution and the broader professional team of people we have in this institution.
What is the IEC's response to this letter that's been sent by the Democratic Alliance and others to the United States and other countries, I believe, to send observers to watch your election process?
Obviously, the letter by a political party to its political friends is not necessarily our domain of interest as an electoral commission, but to the extent that it casts doubt on the work that we do, it concerns us, and we want to basically assure the citizens, whether within the country or out of country, that we will still deliver a credible, free and fair election in the country. We will not compromise on that. And people can use the benchmark of our performance over the 30 years of South Africa's democracy in terms of whether with one party with its own fears has gone out and written a letter of this nature. Secondly, it is common cause that diplomats, lawmakers, and other governments are not your ordinary observers in any election. They never even apply, they never make requests, we never invite them. In fact, if we're inviting any other country, we invite their electoral commission, so our counterparts in that country. We would not go to the government of the day. So what is part of that letter really is in our response is not for us as the commission. They will not get the accreditation to be observers because we do not accredit governments. So they will not have access to voting stations. So I would wonder why anyone will then place reliance on a person who would not have full access on the process. The process, people who will have full access to the process are your accredited observers, wherein we do have international observers. And we can assure the country that we will invite all multilateral organs like your AU, your SADC. We will invite other election management bodies that we associate with. At a SADC level, we have ECF. At a continental level, we have the AAEA. And at a world level, we have other entities such as your AWEB, which we are currently the chair of as South Africa. Certainly, there will be international observers. In the country, we've already accredited just over 30 organizations domestically to come observe the election. And there's more applications on our platform for such organizations. So the fact that the process is transparent, we've accredited so many observers, should give enough credibility to this election. we do not actually need lawmakers from anywhere else in the world to come say our elections are credible or not.
The election timetable, we've seen opposition parties say that this was compressed, and this has created a number of challenges for political parties and people wanting to register. What has been your experience as an IEC? Because that would have affected you too.
Contrary to that submission, we've actually had a few more days than we've ever had in an election timetable. Maybe some of our memories or some of our colleagues or key stakeholder memory lapses or deletes some of recent experiences. For the election in 2021, we had just barely 70 days to prepare for an election. In 2019, we had about 83 days to prepare for the election. And indeed, on this one, we believe we had generous time given all the new things in this election environment, because we started off the program with just about 96 days. If you take the 23rd of February to the 29th of May, we have just about 96 days. And we think we have more days than we've ever had before. And in using these days, we've given more time to candidate nomination. Parties had a good 14 days. If they do a quick comparison to 2021 or to 2019, they will realize that there we worked on about 6 to 7 days for candidate nomination. But we always say an election, you don't prepare for it when the legal processes kick in. You start preparing for an election long before. For us as the Electoral Commission, this is why we can never tolerate any error on our part. We start preparing for an election 18 months to 24 months before it actually takes place. So we've been preparing for May 2024 for a long while, save for the changes in law. And the changes in law are quite significant, and we're ready with having taken all of those changes in law into account.
So there are a good number of new voters. We believe a record number of people on the voters roll. Do you have enough time to do voter education? There'll be new voters for the first time this time around.
Indeed, our voters roll, we will certify today, the 12th of March, and that becomes now the official voters roll for this election. If you're not on that roll, you will not be able to cast your ballot. And it has 27.79 million voters. And it's a number we're reaching for the first time. We've been building up this voters roll since 1998. And it is for the first time that it has 27 million entries in it. So it's a good feat and a good milestone in 30 years of our democracy. Time for voter education is never enough with so many people. Indeed, we tend to slant to younger voters. However, this time confronted with 3 ballot papers, they changed that you must vote where you are registered. Remember, in 2019, you could actually shop around for a shorter queue as long as you were within your province. The law has now been changed to say, vote where you are registered. You will vote elsewhere if you pre-notify the commission. So in those cases, people must go to their voting station. They must understand the 3 ballots. And important with the 3 ballots, I always start with the simplest of things to say, just know the colors first. And once you know the colors, you must know what to expect in this color in terms of candidates and parties. And thirdly, where this mark counts, what this mark counts for. Where we are, we already know that the national ballot will be blue. And we also know that the provincial ballot for the provincial legislature will be pink. And we also know that the ballot for the regional seat will be orange. So when you go in there, know those colors. And then the second thing you need to know is that the national ballot, which is blue, will only have political parties, no independent candidates. Then you know you really are voting for a party that must lead the country. On the regional ballot, which is orange, you will have parties as well as independent candidates. We've indicated on Saturday that we have just about 16 individuals who are contesting as independent candidates. So they will be on that ballot. But that ballot is different from each region. So this is why you must vote where you are registered and in your region, because it's important that you elect lawmakers for your region to the National Assembly. So you will have parties and independent candidates in provinces. In the provincial legislatures, you will again have parties and independent candidates. Currently, we have just about 11 individuals who have been nominated. There are provinces without independence, and when we're ready to give the details in names and parties and the order on the ballot, we will share more.
All right, perhaps finally, what are the next milestones? Today, the voters' roll gets certified. What are the next milestones for you leading up to the election?
Well, the next milestone for us is notifying parties that did not submit all the requirements. And if it's the requirements that can be fixed, they will be given an opportunity to do so. But there are those that you can't fix after the closing date. For instance, if you didn't pay a deposit, you are out. So we are doing that work this week, and we'll do the communication with parties by the end of this week. Next week, we will be notifying political parties of those individuals who are nominated by more than one party. You know, Mawethu was nominated by this party. He accepted, was nominated by another party. He accepted. Basically, we would need to deal with that because you can only stand with one political party. And then the week thereafter, the 26th and the 27th is very important dates because we will then publish the list of candidates. And when we publish the list of candidates, we are actually inviting objections. The objections we are inviting must be in terms of the law. So don't generalize and say all other things. You must look at whether this person qualifies to stand for office or doesn't qualify to stand for office, and you base that on the law. And we'll make a decision by the 29th or so of March. And we expect those aggrieved to go to the Electoral Court, and the Electoral Court should finalize by about the 2nd of April. And on the 4th of April or soon thereafter, we'll give you the order of parties on the ballot paper and basically giving you an insight on how the ballot paper will look and feel.
Mr. Mosery, Mawethu, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on the channel, and we wish you the best with rolling out these elections for 2024.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's an interesting time rather than a difficult time. Thank you very much.